Hi there. Second video. The first one I paused it to get all the way up to the first crack. This time I'm just going to let it go so you can watch your timer, and when it goes in you can kind of follow your timer and see how it goes, from one end to the other. The fire is going to be all the way up on high until just the beginning of the second crack. Then I'm going to cut it about in half. Other than that, and then when my thermometer reads about 410 or so, I turn the fire off and let it pop a little bit more, just on account of cause. Just why not? Here goes. I'm going to try and start it right at the 1 minute mark so you can take 1 minute off of the times. And we're at a minute. There we go. Wire whisk. You can see the other batch already done right there. That's the first batch that I just finished with a lot more explanation and type commentary. And didn't step on any cats this time like I did 3 years ago when I did a roasting video. Y'all pardon the condition of the stove. It's an outdoor kitchen. You can tell by the background in the beginning of the video. It sits out here and gets dust blown at it all the time. The oven doesn't work. It's not even plugged into anything. I just light the burner manually with one of these guys and go to town roasting coffee. I roast coffee on it, and every now and then I'll cook something to go with supper that comes when I'm cooking on the fire pit just behind me, so that I can kind of tend both of them at the same time. We got a little wind. I'm hoping the sound isn't picking up all this wind. But I'm going to stand over here and try and block the wind from the flame a little bit. Like I said, this is going to go straight through. It's going to be, I'm guessing, anywhere between a 9 and 12 minute long roast, which means 10 to 13 minute long video. And it's not that bad to stand here and give the coffee a stir. The important thing is to keep it moving the whole time. If you don't, you can, this time of the video, you can run, if you forgot to grab something to drink, you left your drink over on the other end of the room or something, you can run grab it and come back. It's not going to hurt anything. But once it starts cracking, you don't want to walk away from it and let it go, or it's going to scorch the bottom of the beans that's in contact with the skillet, and I guarantee you don't taste it when you go to drink the stuff. They say to let it set for 12 hours. I have realized I'm out of coffee when I'm through chasing squirrels for the day, and realized about midnight that I need to make coffee. And by 5:30 the next morning, it's as good as if it does sit for the 12 hours. I think it needs to sit 3 or 4 hours anyway, because I have roasted in the morning and it was kind of different tasting that morning. And by the next day it tasted fine. So, if you roast it, just can't wait, try to wait 3 or 4 hours before you go brewing up a pot of it. It does not smell like coffee at any point during the roasting. You're not doing anything wrong if it smells like wet grass, or if it smells like a burnt mule when it gets through. It doesn't smell appetizing at all yet, until it gasses off for those 3 or 4 hours. Then it'll start smelling like coffee. The next morning, you go in take the lid off whatever container you got it in. Oh, it smells good. I try to use a light-proof container because for some reason light degrades the, it goes bad. Yeah, it just goes bad a lot faster. I used to put it in mason jars. And the first time I roasted, I put it in a mason jar, left it on the counter because it looked pretty, and by the third day it tasted awful. So I started keeping it in the cabinet. And it'd last 4 or 5 days before it started tasting awful. Then I got one old Frosty the Snowman cookie tin and decided to repurpose it. So I started dumping my coffee in there and leave it out on the counter, and it's good for 8 to 10 days before it really starts tasting like store-bought crap. You know, they say that ground coffee, like whatever the red can or the blue can you get at Wally World or HEB, ground coffee is good for 3 days once you open it. I think that's an exaggeration, but oh well. And whole bean coffee, like, you know, the bag stuff, I'm not even going to mention the idiots over on the left coast. You know, somebody like that. That stuff, once you open that bag, it's good for a week to 10 days. Me, by the time I get half to 3/4 of the way through the bag, I'm really looking forward to opening the next bag. But the green beans, these beans I'm using right here, were delivered in 2018. They say it'll last, you know, it'll store indefinitely green as long as it's kept dry. And I just leave it in the packaging it came in, which is a U.S. Post Office flat freight envelope. They stuff a 5-pound sack in it and send it every month, just like clockwork. And I just leave it in that, and it's in a Mylar bag inside the bubble wrap post office envelope. And this will be as good as the stuff I got 3 weeks ago. So anyway, I'm going to hush now because we're getting pretty close to first crack, and I want you to be able to hear it if you can over the wind noise coming in the mic. Here's I overheated my... There we go. We're getting cracks. I figured it was getting close. I overheated my thermometer. Hope it'll cool off and go back to working. No, I don't have a retarded kid running around in the yard. That's goats. That's the neighbor's goats. I don't know if you can hear it, but if you can, that's what it is. I don't have a little kid running around in the yard hollering, "Dad!" Apparently the little fellow wants some coffee. The wind's blowing pretty much straight at him. Like I said on the other one, I guess I should have said it before it started the first crack, and make a note of the time when it did that. And then when the second crack starts, you can tell the difference in the sound of them. You know, I like using a chicken fryer because you see how high up the sides it comes when you stir it kind of aggressively. I don't have to worry about it jumping out. Yeah, it's starting to cool off a little bit. You know, I've been doing this for years, and I still kind of like to shoot it with the thermometer one last time before I declare it done and dump it out. Gotten past the wet grass smell and gotten to the sweaty mule stage of it. Sweaty mule on fire, I think, might be more apt. See the smoke coming off of it? That's normal. That's why, and that's incidentally why I do this outside. You can do it inside. It's best. It's perfectly fine to do it inside if you have a vented range hood. It'll do just fine inside without smoking the house up. But I guarantee you, you're gonna smell coffee. My wife says it smells like coffee when it gets about like this, as long as you're not standing over it. But your whole house is gonna smell like coffee, and if you're in an apartment or a condo or a townhome or something like that, your neighbors are gonna know you're roasting coffee. Okay, you hear the second crack, the little muted Rice Krispie sounding crack. And we're there. I figured it was starting to look that way. I'm going to shut it off and just let it do some more second cracking. You don't burn coffee until the second crack stops and it gets about 10 degrees hotter than that. So you got a little leeway. The more second crack you do, the richer the taste I've found, or at least from my way of thinking. Can you hear the goats going bananas now? They've discovered that there's a human outside, and they're great actors. And of course, now that I hush so you can hear them, they hush too. Got goats in one ear and sheep in the other ear. My sheep are over there and the goats are over there. So it's kind of stereo squalling going on. The goats are hearing the sheep and they're going at it. And the sheep are hearing the goats and answering. Oh well. That's it. That roast is in. Yeah, it kind of blended with the other one. Started out green and turned nice and brown. And you can still see a little smoke coming off of it. Let it cool until you stick your hand in it. Don't try that now. Those beans, remember, are at 425 degrees. It'd be about like grabbing an onion oven rack after you pull the cookies out. And then, like I said about this can, it's not airtight. You don't want it airtight because it is gassing off, and it will blow the top off. Ask me how I found that out. Well, I'll tell you how I found that out. About 2 hours after I finished with a roast, I went in, shut off the light, laid my head down on my pillow, and just as I was about to fall asleep, heard a pop from out in the kitchen. Jumped up and ran in there to look and couldn't find the lid of the can, the mason jar, the plastic lid anywhere. Found parts of it later. It blew that lid to pieces. So if you do put it in a mason jar and put it in the cabinet, leave the lid kind of loose. Leave it room to where, like if you'd put water in it and turned it over, it would be dribbling out. Give it plenty of room to gas off. I'm glad I had a plastic lid on it instead of a metal, just for that reason. All right. Well, hey, thanks a lot for watching. Have fun. Comments, I'll try to see them and answer if you got any questions. Have a good one.